Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you for being here and taking an interest in my sharing. There are two parts to my presentation. Think about it as research-informed practice. First, I'll start by sharing about my research in entrepreneurship psychology, setting the context for my work with entrepreneurs. Before we look at the practical applications from a psychological perspective on well-being and ill-being. A bit about me search before the research. I'm a psychological practitioner based in Singapore, but my clients can come from all over the world. One of the groups I enjoy working the most are entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, and investors of high-growth ventures across diverse sectors. Now, many things go into creating a profitable venture, but as a psychologist, I'm particularly interested in people. Perhaps that's why, as I reflect on my career, marrying entrepreneurship and psychology seems like a natural progression. Specifically, I'm focusing on entrepreneurs' mental health and well-being, especially seeing this as an area that many of my clients they struggle with. Now, what you see on screen, perhaps let me rephrase. What do these people have in common other than they happen to be all men? Well, for us who are into tech or business, these are not unfamiliar faces. In fact, we know their names, we use their products, and very much on a daily basis. We cannot imagine our lives today without these people, or at least without the companies they founded. Well, some might argue that this figure needs updating, but okay, a discussion for another time. Entrepreneurship is often celebrated as a catalyst for economic growth, job creation, alongside many benefits it can bring at the individual, family, community, society, even at the national level. Entrepreneurs are frequently hailed as visionary, creative, innovative, having grit, problem solvers, and resilient. I like this meme about entrepreneurs. What my mom thinks I do, what my friends think I do, what society thinks I do, what investors think I do, what I think I do, and what I really do. Jokes aside, people often perceive entrepreneurship as a linear progression. However, in reality, the journey towards success looks more like this. Again, many people get into entrepreneurship with the expectations that their business is going to make them rich. However, more often than not, the reality paints a very different story. Therein lies the entrepreneurial paradox, that we can have a plan from start to finish. However, the reality of how we get there may be less of a smooth journey, to say the least. So, why is this positivity bias a problem? Because the grass is not always greener. Recently I was serving as a graduate teaching assistant in one of the MBA courses, and we did a poll asking how many of the students would like to start their own business after graduation. Quite a majority of them put up their hands. At that moment, there is a part of me that feels like doing the students a disservice if we just teach them the knowledge, skills, and competencies of doing business without highlighting the risk that comes along with it. Risk not just financial, but also psychological, including stress, distress, anxiety, burnout, depression, isolation, and adverse health outcomes. They are real and coexist alongside perceived benefits. So what I'm trying to say is, with the economic value that entrepreneurship brings comes human cost. Individuals often enter this field with incomplete expectations and insufficient emotional preparation. Now, entrepreneurship is a very unique context where the nature of entrepreneurial activities differ from conventional employment. Entrepreneurship there's a lack of formal boundaries between professional and personal life. There's constant emotional labor. There's chronic stress due to role overload and overcommitment in highly uncertain, resource-constrained environments. There's a saying in Asia, if you don't work, you don't earn, and you don't eat, you know. And this constant striving hinders recovery and poses substantial biopsychosocial risk, not just financial risk. Moreover, there is the duality of the entrepreneur experience. That is not all negative, neither is it all positive. Positive and negative states often coexist. Therefore, this duality challenges binary models of mental health that treat well-being and distress as mutually exclusive. For example, organizational psychology, coaching psychology, we focus on thriving and performance, while clinical psychology primarily focuses on dysfunction and risk. Therefore, when I consider about research-informed practice, I want to examine more about this dynamic continuum in which positive and negative states intersect, evolve, and mutually influence one another over time. The entrepreneurial context demands frameworks capable of capturing both emotional highs and psychological hazards of the entrepreneurial life cycle. Entrepreneurship psychology is well positioned to address this gap, offering theoretical tools to examine how psychological constructs unfold in high-stakes contexts. The goal? Move beyond celebration versus critique to a richer psychologically informed understanding, fostering inclusive and sustainable models of entrepreneurship. I'm mindful of time, so let's shift gear. Great, entrepreneurship psychology. But so what? What does it all mean for our coaching practice? The following slides are my personal reflections. They are by no means prescriptive, as each client is different. It is just how I would approach my work with entrepreneurs, having been better informed by research. Let's start with looking at coaching psychology as an essential intervention. Entrepreneurs operate in environments with unique psychological pressures that impact performance, decision-making, and venture survival. These pressures are exacerbated by the absence of traditional, institutional support structures. Coaching psychology, which facilitates self-determination and enhances performance and well-being, is a crucial modality for mitigating these risks. The goal is to design and implement evidence-based interventions that promote resilience, recovery, and long-term well-being. Coaching psychologists can provide targeted support that addresses the specific challenges entrepreneurs face, enhancing their capacity to navigate uncertainty while maintaining psychological health. Coaching for cognitive reframing and expectation management. Coaching psychologists may actively challenge the positivity bias prevalent in entrepreneurial discourse. By equipping entrepreneurs with realistic expectations, we can better prepare them for the emotional demands inherent in their work. Interventions could include strategies for success, alongside tools for managing stress and emotional strain. This dual approach enhances psychological resilience and reduces the likelihood of chronic burnout. Setting accurate cognitive boundaries regarding workload and emotional investment is essential for sustaining entrepreneurial engagement and promoting mental well-being. coaching for self-regulation and recovery. Entrepreneurs often experience role overload and overcommitment, making self-regulation a critical focus for coaching. Interventions can help to establish clear boundaries between professional and personal life and create structured recovery time to reduce chronic stress. Proactive support systems that promote mental health literacy and access to professional services can mitigate the structural and emotional risk associated with venture creation. Coaching psychologists play a vital role in fostering self-awareness and resilience, enabling entrepreneurs to maintain performance while safeguarding their well-being. Coaching, entrepreneur identity, and emotional labor. Entrepreneur identity is deeply personal, and failures are often internalized acutely. Coaching can help entrepreneurs manage the volatility associated with fear of failure and social isolation. By fostering a balanced perspective on self-worth that is distinct from venture outcomes, coaching supports identity resilience. Additionally, coaching provides tools for managing constant emotional demands, ensuring that entrepreneurs can sustain performance and avoid prolonged distress. This support is essential for maintaining psychological health and promoting long-term success. Now, let's take a step back and look at this from a more systemic view. Recognizing the psychological cause of entrepreneurship calls for a holistic approach to support at the ecosystem level. Coaching practitioners can advise policymakers and ecosystem designers on the need for continuous support structures that extend beyond the initial startup phase. This advocacy role legitimizes mental health as a core concern and contributes to the design of clinical and coaching interventions tailored for this high vulnerability occupational group. By influencing policy and ecosystems design, coaching psychologists can contribute to a more sustainable and supportive entrepreneurial environments. Therefore, in summary, for entrepreneurship psychology moves beyond binary narratives, acknowledging entrepreneurship's capacity for both fulfillment and distress. By leveraging psychological theory such as identity, self-regulation, and emotional labor, this evidence-based approach enhances the power of ongoing research and its relevance to practice. The ultimate aspiration is to foster more inclusive, sustainable, and human-centered models of entrepreneurship. Coaching psychology plays a pivotal role in achieving this vision by providing targeted support that addresses the complex emotional landscape of entrepreneurial endeavors. I've included selected references on entrepreneurship psychology, entrepreneurial, entrepreneurial mental health, and well-being. My apologies. Yeah. So this is my contact details on LinkedIn. If my research or area of practice is of any interest to you, feel free to connect on LinkedIn. It would be very lovely to hear from you and continue this conversation around entrepreneurship psychology. Thank you very much.